You're watching America Trends. I'm Mary Burt-Godwin, and I am excited to introduce you to our next guest. He is the CEO of 22nd Century Group. 22nd Century is a leading agricultural biotechnology company focused on tobacco harm reduction, reduced nicotine tobacco, and improving health and wellness through plant science. And they are revolutionizing the world of cigarette smoking. And I cannot wait to meet you, Jim Mish. Welcome to America Trends.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be here.
Yes, I'm fascinated by your company and all that you do. So first I want to hear a little bit about you and your background and what led you to 22nd Century Group.
Yeah, sure. My background is really in research and development in the pharmaceutical industry years ago. And then I've been going in and out of big corporations and startups and private equity. But always focusing on consumer trends, health and wellness, and supplying either ingredients or finished products into those spaces. And back in 2020, I encountered 22nd Century Group and started to learn about not only their tobacco business and their mission of reduced harm, which really intrigued me, but I was coming out of a cannabis industry as well. And they were also starting to make an entry into cannabis and hemp. But really what the foundation of the company, and it goes back decades, and really what drew my attention was this really strong mission and technology backing it to reduce harm caused by standard combustible cigarettes in the marketplace, which is just an ongoing issue, not only here in the U.S., but on a global basis. So I thought by joining up and matching some of my skill sets with their mission, I could make an impact not only to the company, but to really smokers all around the world and other health and wellness opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I think harm reduction is something we talk about on the show a lot in regards to drug use or alcohol, and now with cigarettes. I mean, I do think because people, frankly, are going to smoke cigarettes and continue to smoke cigarettes. They're going to be around. So the concept of harm reduction is amazing. And what I was reading is that your proprietary reduced nicotine content cigarette, VLN, is VLN King and VLN Menthol. They have 95% less nicotine. Is that correct?
Yeah, the product itself is a combustible cigarette, but it does contain 95% less nicotine than a standard cigarette, specifically 0.5 milligrams per nicotine per gram of tobacco. And that's important because it stands behind FDA clinical trials that demonstrated and finally FDA authorized the fact that that particular nicotine level is based as non-addictive, but it also helps smokers smoke dramatically less cigarettes per day. So imagine it's a combustible cigarette that helps you smoke less combustible cigarettes and drives the harm reduction and by doing so.
Wow. Yeah. And I was reading, so modified risk tobacco product, MRTP is what the designation from the FDA. Yeah.
Yeah. In order to put a product on the market, a combustible cigarette on the market with any kind of harm reduction claim, you actually have to get 2 FDA authorizations, what they call a pre-manufacturing authorization, just to be able to sell the product, and then a modified risk tobacco product authorization in order to market it as a harm reduction product. So the company took, 2 decades to not only develop the technology, but go through the FDA process and get both authorizations. The second of the 2 came last December, and then we just launched the product into the market with these marketing claims in April. And the clinical trials that the FDA ran were so compelling that they mandate that we put on every single package the words "helps you smoke less." That's how compelling the clinical data is. To drive the reduction of cigarette smoke per day by the smoker.
And so are these purchasable now in drugstores and wherever else you can, liquor stores around the country?
They are. We're expanding. So our first move in April was to do a pilot study just to make sure we have our marketing collateral down and our retail partners in place. So we did a small pilot study back in April, basically April through June. That was extremely successful for us, and we've been expanding ever since. So we expanded immediately across the state of Illinois, and then on to Colorado. Now we're into the 4 corner states. So far, we're in 5 of the 50 states. We're authorized to sell in all of them. But what we learned for this particular product, in order to have success into the market, You have to make the consumers aware of it, first of all. As soon as they become aware of it, they start to seek it out. And then we want to educate them about basically how the product works and its impact. So it is available in 5 states, the 4 corner states in in Illinois. And we'll be announcing additional states very soon. We anticipate being in at least 18 states within the next 12 months. And those 18 states are where heavy smoking does take place. It accounts for about half of the total market in the U.S. at this point.
Oh, wow. Well, here in California, I'm not sure if that's on your radar yet, but California law here now prohibits menthol cigarettes and flavored vaping. So your cigarettes would be a great taking the place of that because a lot of people are going to be without things that they are wanting because you have the VLN menthol cigarette. Is that something that you're looking at or is on your radar?
It is. Yeah, California, as usual, is leading the way on some of these federal options that are coming about as well. So they in Massachusetts were the first to ban combustible regular menthol cigarettes. And then I think they'll go right in line in driving towards a nicotine mandate as well. Massachusetts is already on that as well. And the federal government is closely behind that. So California is very much on our radar. We're working, with the senior officials within California to explain to them how unique this product is, that our menthol combustible cigarette, in fact, helps reduce harm. And the clinical data within the FDA dossier can be reviewed, which is in process. And we believe we'll get the exemption or a carve out of these menthol cigarettes in the state. Not only as an off-ramp to standard menthol cigarette smokers, but with a clinical data supporting it to drive the harm reduction claims.
And do they look, feel, taste, smell like a standard cigarette that you'd find on the market now?
Yeah, the technology we utilize is gene editing. It's not GMO, so it's a non-GMO approach. It's called gene editing. It then drives the plant to express dramatically less nicotine in it. The upshot of that is that the tobacco itself smokes, tastes exactly like a normal combustible cigarette. So you get the hand-to-mouth, you get the consumer and the smoker having the same physical components.
Right. Because that would be, to me, it would seem like that's the thing that would make a smoker not want them if they don't get the same. But if it's the same, then it should be, it would be a great transition.
Yeah, it's a very transitional, and what we found in both the pilot studies and how we're rolling it out, that the transition from a regular cigarette, whether it's menthol or regular, to these VLNs is very quick. So the hand-to-mouth is the same, it tastes the same, it smokes the same, but there's just enough nicotine in there. That amount is very special of how this works.
Yeah.
There's just enough nicotine to fool the receptor into thinking it's getting a full nicotine hit.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing.
That's
Jim Mish, CEO of 22nd Century Group. That's Roman numeral XXII centurygroup.com. I appreciate you being on the show, Jim, and what you're doing in this harm reduction field. Thank you so much for joining us today on America Trends.
And thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And everyone at home, stick around. We will be right back.